Welcome to the Indian Gaming Association's The New Normal webcast. My name is Lisa Johnson. I'm the conference manager for the Indian Gaming Trade Show and Convention. I'd like to share a few housekeeping tips before we get started. Everyone is muted by default except for our speakers. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question or chat box and they'll be brought up at the end. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Victor Rocha, conference chairman of the Indian Gaming Association.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Victor Rocha. I'm the conference chairman for the Indian Gaming Association. Welcome to the New Normal, the Indian Gaming Association's podcast, where we bring you the latest news, insights, and trends in tribal gaming industry. I'm your host, again, Victor Rocha. Unfortunately, Jason had a death in the family. He had to go take care of that stuff, so he apologizes he couldn't be here. That was a last-minute thing, but this is going to be a really interesting conversation. We're going to dive into the fascinating world of artificial intelligence and how it's going to affect tribal gaming. I'm very honored to have my guest, Laila Mintas. She's a co-founder and CEO of PlayEngine. Hello, Laila.
Hi, Victor. Always good to see you. Thanks for having me.
It's good to see you too. It really is. Welcome. This idea for this session started, obviously back at our show, which was way back a couple weeks ago. I think all of us were kind of blown away in what this new technology is bringing. As I was saying right before we started, when the internet came, it was about disruption, disrupting the media, disrupting, anything that was possible, from shopping and marketing and stuff like that. And then you had the apps and the iPhone, and with the apps, you really saw a real true disruption with Uber and, shopping and stuff like that. But it was really felt that it was focusing on blue collar type of jobs. With this, artificial intelligence, it really seems like it's aimed at the white collar class, just square right in the middle of the forehead. You know what I mean? Everything I'm reading, everyone that's talking about this is saying that, the disruption is going to come. You're seeing, taxes, lawyers, copywriters, all this stuff that really smart people are doing, what's your take? What is you find interesting in all this conversation?
So it's really, really crazy, a little bit scaring to see how great, for example, ChatGPT works. And we as a tech company, we've been monitoring that for a while at PlayEngine. Overall, I mean, I totally agree with you. When the internet kind of like came into the society, it changed so much from one day to the other. And many people say now ChatGPT will probably have the same impact, but as you said, probably more on the C-level employees, if you want to call it that way. Many things that we are doing as human beings, where we were saying, oh, we do that, only we can do it, we are well educated, we are creative. Many of those tasks can be replaced by that solution. And it's scary. I mean, it's will be really interesting to see how that will impact the society overall. But it seems like it's a trend that's here to stay, that will revolutionize maybe many things from how we do that today. And we see that on the technical side already. I've been speaking to many companies across our space, many more than you probably would think are already working with ChatGPT and have that integrated. We at PlayEngine are experimenting with that and have AI-driven solutions. I think many companies are looking into it. Many have started it already. But overall, I'm always interested in seeing how that impacts the society overall, not only the business side for us, but really the way we're doing things nowadays and how we will probably do that in a few years.
Yeah, I'm starting to see it slipped into some of these features and stuff. You're seeing it if you go and check the app store on your iPhone, you know, that's, and just type in AI. It's really quite hysterical, you know, and how many apps that they have and how many they've just created. I mean, it's growing exponentially by the day, and all these services. And I think it's going to be like, you know, HBO just announced they're going to have a new streaming channel. Now we're like going, I mean, how many streaming channels do we need? You know what I mean? I cut the cable I cut the cord for cable, and now you're buying all these bundles. And I think that's kind of what you're going to see. You're going to have all these AI services that different ones. I noticed in one of the photography or photo manipulation softwares that I use, they're using AI to generate images already, you know. And, you know, one of the things is I've diving head first into it. I find it absolutely fascinating. I find the imaging stuff really, really interesting. Like I said, but as I look for the gaming industry, I think, you know, I see a lot of benefits there. You know, I personally would like to make you know, a chat bot that would do tribal sovereignty or something like that. But I could see where a lot of casinos, the upside that I see immediately is customer service I think on the front end, stuff like that. I don't know if we're going to use artificial, you know, voices and stuff like that. I think, you know, you're going to be the kind of like the voice, automated voicing that we do with the phone and stuff like that. But that seems a big part of it. Enhanced gaming offerings, revenue management, like I said, chatbots, virtual assistants, just all the things that it's going to bring to the casinos is really, really amazing. But I think the big concern, and I think the thread of what we're talking about here, is about displacement and how that's going to affect the industry. I think for the smaller casinos, it's going to be a real godsend who can't afford some of this stuff. But, you know, as I'm doing my research, they talk about, you know, you're still going to need staff. You're still going to need people. Are there enough? I already saw the ads up for prompt engineering already, 150K, 200K. You know what I mean? Like I said, a good prompt is like a good incantation, you know, eye of Musk, you know, brain of Newton, you know. So it's really quite amazing to have access to all this information and stuff like that. You know, kind of circling back real quick, how are you seeing it used in the gaming industry? What do you think, and how, from a personal level, you know, what ideas did it spark?
You mentioned the images. So, I mean, you can basically say, ChatGPT, show me an image of, I'm just making it up, a rose in the desert, and I want ABC to be on the picture, and this thing creates that for you, right? So it's really endless. It creates basically new stuff. So it's not like reproducing data that's already there. It's actually going one step further, create things that are totally new, right? So it's really like creating new content. And I think that's a really scary part. And there are probably lots of things, endless possibilities on how to use that in our space. And so I think we will see that probably on the creative side when it comes to like developing great iGaming solutions. What really scares me, I mean, there's this part what everybody talks about, how you can use AI now, and especially ChatGPT, to like help you with your bar exam, or you like cheating in your tests and all this stuff, right? But what really scares me most is like, it can even like create new content. It can even be used to replace your developers, right? It can develop code for you. I mean, it's not just a reproduction of what was there before, but really creating new content, something new, like a new work product. And thinking from our industry angle, I mean, I see it being used for so-called repeatable tasks already, like data entry, analysis, customer service that you mentioned as well. But I think it's much more than that. And AI can absolutely be used to personalize the customer experience. We at PlayEngine, for example, we use AI already for our risk and risk management solutions to prevent fraud and things like that. But overall, I think it will play a role when it comes to creativity. So new games being developed probably, and then moving forward, maybe to not only analyze data that's existing, but create new data points. I also think that people will use it at all different kinds of like angles of our industry to benefit from it. If you're in startup and you need an investment deck, it can help, right? If you want to understand your customers and your customer behavior, it can help you. So, I mean, it's probably endless and can be used everywhere. In terms of access, yes, it's available to everybody and everybody can use it. However, it comes with a lot of education, right? So it's like a process to learn about it. And it's funny, if you like Google ChatGPT, there are all those online courses now where they explain you how it works. And so everybody's trying to monetize the knowledge around that already. I think where it really becomes like interesting is on how you access that knowledge and share that within your group. And I think especially if, looking at tribal gaming, I was always wondering, I mean, using basically the resources that are available, making that available to everybody in the tribal gaming space would probably benefit everybody, because it's everybody needs to get up to speed on that. And kind of like, why reinventing the wheel? Why not like looking into what's existing already, how we can all speak with one voice, help each other on understanding the opportunities in the market. And I think there are great third-party solutions out there already that are probably ready to go and that can be implemented. But then there's probably other things where, as a tribal gaming operator, where people could sit together and brainstorm and think about how can we make most out of it, with not like everybody doing their own thing, but all together brainstorming, coming together and help each other, and to end up speaking with one voice when it comes to all those innovation and tech things.
Yeah, you know, I asked ChatGPT how we could make Meta's metaverse more useful, and it shut down on me. It shut down on me. So I think we've all moved beyond the metaverse, it feels like, too. It's like nobody's talking about the metaverse anymore. You know, that was going to change our lives and everything. And it just feels, you know, even my kids not even using it. You know, I bought them the headset and stuff like that. So I think we've all moved on to what artificial intelligence, but, you know, in a way, you know, it feels like its time has come. You know, we've all been talking about, and artificial intelligence has been here a while, and machine learning, and it's just going to make our jobs easier. You know, I remember, gosh, about 15 years ago when the people at VCAT who work with Barona, and Barona had that product Mariposa, which they ended up selling to IGT. And I remember initially when they started, it was about customer relationships and stuff like that. And, you know, the initial vision was, you know, when you walk onto a casino, you know, the RFID chip in your wallet's going to set off, you know, the visuals, you're going to get your own experience. You're going to sit down at a slot machine, and that's going to become the machine that you want. I think artificial intelligence is going to brings us closer there than ever, where you are going to get these personalized experience. And I think one of the upsides is that it's going to be the smaller casinos that are going to have a real opportunity here. The ones that have problems with employment, the ones that have problem getting, maybe you can't get the Harvard MBA for marketing and stuff like that. And I think marketing is going to be one that is going to be affected. I think the smart people are going to understand how to use this as a tool and how to create a better product for your property. And then there's going to be a lot of small, I think, you know, it reminds me of the beginning of the internet, you know, when we had all these graphics and stuff like that. So we'd all make a homepage and we'd have a ton of flashing graphics and GeoCities and stuff like that. So I think you're going to see a lot of bad marketing in the beginning and stuff like that. But then I think people are going to learn how to use it and create very sophisticated products that pretty soon you're not going to be able to tell the difference between a marketing expert and chat GPT, excuse me. So that's the one that I feel right away that's going to have an effect on the tribes almost immediately. Let's get to some of these questions here. AI, machine learning, and casino CRM and marketing software. For example, digital marketing campaigns can be automated through certain tools, and software learns and improves offer recommendations and options over time. Are there any software solutions leading the way in the casino industry? I could think right away on that question. That was a question from an anonymous attendee, but it sounds like Stu Kerr or someone like that, but I don't think it was. Right now, there's that software they're using in Vegas for room rates, for price surging and stuff like that, where it changes the room rates. There's called Rainmaker. That's what it's called, because there's a big lawsuit against that right now. But I think that's one where you're using artificial intelligence to generate more revenue, to create more efficiencies, but that might not be necessarily what's best for the customer. You know what I mean? So, you know, which brings up a really interesting point as I was doing my research, which was about ethics, you know, and how that's going to be involved in the industry and stuff like that. What do you think, Laila? And also this question will go out to the audience too, since this is an interactive session today.
Yeah, I mean, ethics should always be number one. And being a lawyer by trade, when it comes now to all those new modern technologies, it's always a question like of liability. Do we always know who's dealing with us? Is that maybe a machine? Do we know if it's a machine or a human, and how will that all impact how we are treated, but also how we treat the other person or robot on the other side. So I think there's a lot of questions that will come up. And it was the same with the internet. When the internet first started, people didn't know how to react on that. The law had to get improved to cover crimes and other behavior that finally happened over the internet instead of like on a location. So I think there will be a lot of challenges on law and ethics when it comes to all of that. To your earlier point on smaller operators, what I'm thinking is like maybe there is a way for smaller operators, casino operators, for example, to help improve their operations to make it more cost efficient. So many of the tasks that you can outsource to the technology, if you will, to like ChatGPT or other AI solutions, helps maybe to make the operations more efficient. I wonder if it always kind of like comes with a new revenue stream. I think it probably needs time until we are there, but probably like improving how the operations are done nowadays. And when it comes to ethics, obviously there's this big question on how that all works in an efficient but also ethical way. And the biggest thing is always, if you have technologies like that are so revolutionary, there are always people that try to misuse it, right? And so what I wonder, okay, it's great to use it, but how do we start thinking about people that might want to misuse it in the future, and how do we act now to prevent that? Because what always happens, if you have a scandal and something negative happens, then the regulations jump in and prevent everybody from using it. And to kind of like avoid a situation like that, I think it would be good to start early on to think about potential consequences and how can we prevent them before that all happens.
Yeah, you know, I asked ChatGPT to erase my browser history if anything happens to me. So that was like a big priority for me. You know, we have some other questions here. Some of them are really good. This is from Jonathan Case. Oh, actually, you know what, Laila, you have a question for you.
Okay.
Okay. So it says, can anonymous attendee, can Laila expand on how they are developing AI solutions for risk management and fraud? Also, does she have any insight on using AI for Title 31 compliance for casinos? I don't know if that's within your wheelhouse, but I think some of that might be.
My tech team could probably answer the question much better than I could, but also, so what I can kind of like reveal is that we're using AI and for risk management and fraud to basically detect fake accounts, right? All those things. We are also experimenting on a broader level. But my tech team basically told me, like, don't speak about that yet. It's too early. So we have to keep that secret for now. But we want to be at PlayEngine. We want to be on the forefront of innovation. And one of my co-founders, Rafa, he used to work with Google and Microsoft. And then we have a great advisor from Netflix. So we have a lot of those people that worked with big tech giants before. And yeah, we want to be, the company was founded originally in Silicon Valley, very close to like where ChatGPT and all those things are happening. So our heritage is probably to be on the forefront of the technology, but it's too early to go into more details.
Yeah, I feel that, again, that I think artificial intelligence is bringing us closer to that promise of, you know, being able to identify the people with gambling issues. And, you know, I think for the longest time that's been, you know, that's been the wish of the industry, you know. And you know, it's interesting for me when I was in the UK taking a tour once, is how they had this policy where they come in, you know, talk to you every 20 minutes, every half an hour as you're gambling to make sure that there's no gambling issue. But it almost feels like that's the pendulum has swung too far to the side. But I think artificial intelligence can do that. And it sounds like it would have saved William Hill a lot of money on that fine that they just had. So, but I think it's something like that. I know I joke about William Hill. For those you don't know, William Hill just got like a $15 million fine in the UK for not checking where the money was coming. Somebody gambled a bunch of money in an hour and a half, like $24,000 or something like that. And they didn't do the know your customer. And so I think stuff like that, I think that's going to be really, really useful. And I think it's something that can be done almost immediately, unless I'm really naive about this, which I usually am. But I do feel that, you know, that's the promise is there. And, you know.
Yes, and I mean, responsible gaming is something that I have the feeling the US is not too focused on right now overall. There are here and there campaigns and projects, but I think it's an underestimated risk. Probably if you look into the UK and Australia, which are two very mature betting markets, as we all know, as you mentioned, there are really high fines for breaches, and they all try to kind of like get a step backwards and implement the right regulations and the right rules for gaming and gambling right now. But I think we should start looking into it now and not when we are more mature. I think we have to kind of like give the players a bit more guidance on that side. And it's always good to have responsible gaming rules and regulations pretty early on, right? Same like we said before, it's good to self-regulate and really take care of that before you force the state to take action for you. So that's why I'm always like, if I see those things, it's always good to see that people care about it. But I question if we are doing enough in the US. And my gut feeling is we will probably end up eventually with a much stricter regulation when it comes to responsible gaming.
Well, you know, you're starting to see it, I think, in Massachusetts that just went online, and they really seem to be getting ahead of it. I think that the lesson from the UK has been, you can't wait for the industry to take responsibility. They just don't seem to, unless they're forced. I'm talking about the UK industry because it's something that I've watched for like 12 years, 13 years since I've been going over there. And to watch the pendulum swing the other way from being very lax to become very, very conservative and very strict. You've seen a lot of those guys over here. A really good example was Ontario just being launched. And you see and even Ohio, where when you're using the affiliates, there's very aggressive in getting the message out there. And, there's a lot of people who had problem gambling are being exposed to these marketing and advertising. And I think this is one where it would be like a no-brainer and would be great for our industry too. I have, oh gosh, I have a whole bunch of good questions. I have our friend Walt Lamar here, and he's saying in terms of threat to gaming that AI can create, in terms of threat to gaming, that AI can create malicious code at a rate humans cannot match. How are Indian gaming operations going to be able to combat cyber attacks? Now, thanks, Walt. That's a really good question. I don't know if you've given, I know you have not been given a lot of time to this, but, that's a really important question. When you do it, it's not infallible. Artificial intelligence is not infallible. It's that I've seen, I don't think anything is infallible when it comes to code and technology, So how are we going to protect these little casinos? How should they, prevent themselves from being, I mean, what do they do,
I mean, there are solutions out there. I mean, you can probably not expect from smaller operators to start developing their own tech that prevents cyber attacks and those things, right? So maybe the best way is to look for existing solutions that are in the market already and that have been basically proven already in industries that are established. However, with AI, ChatGPT, and the innovation happening so fast, those solutions might be challenged pretty quickly. And it's on those bigger operators that offer those solutions to probably really be concerned and look into like what they have to get in place in order to be able to respond to that innovation. Because it's coming. I mean, we don't have to be like naive about that. And once you have innovation, there are always people that are trying to misuse it, right, for their purposes. So as nice as it is to be innovative and use the solutions, there are unfortunately always downsides to that. But I don't think the solution here is to just try to like ignore or prevent innovation from happening. I think we have to have like the right operators that are responsible and that offering like services like that to the market. I hope they're all like innovating themselves and working on like great solutions. For us in-house, we are looking into it already. We are alarmed in a positive way in terms of like looking how we can use what's out there to protect our clients and our systems. But we should all not ignore the fact that the innovation is pretty fast right now, with solutions like ChatGPT being available to basically everybody. And it's crazy if you think about it. So there's probably a lot of stuff happening while we talk, Victor. So yeah, it's good to be thinking about the consequences that could occur and be prepared. And that's, I think, what everybody should be doing that has the resources to do that.
I've been waiting for the longest time for them to put like conscience into things. They're going to put a conscience into a slot machines. Actually, I saw an article yesterday. They were talking about once you're starting to put in artificial intelligence becomes more alive and more responsive, do you have an ethical responsibility to take care of it and not harm it and stuff? And it really kind of blew my mind, started thinking about, the philosophy and the ethics of artificial intelligence and stuff like that. And so I think we're just touching upon it, but also to touch on your point real quick, I think we're hopefully, I'm not sure if we have them now, but I think what we're going to start to see is, again, services that, artificial intelligence, that everything's going to be have it at all levels. You know, I remember once we did a session, one of our thing, and I had at times Stu Kerr was working for Pachanga at that time, and I remember he was on a session, and I detected a little bit of hostility from the panelists. And what I found out later, they were a little intimidated because, you know, here was a data scientist from one tribe, and they were a smaller tribe, and they didn't have access to stuff, someone like a Stu Kerr or someone who's, you know, with and yet now this offers the smaller tribes to have access to someone like that. Now, it, like I said, it takes someone that understands what we're doing, how to use artificial intelligence to get the responses that you're right. From what I'm doing in my research is, you know, I have Midjourney, I have Chat GPT, and to get Chat GPT 4 is a lot smarter than 3.5, but what you're learning is that to coax the answers that you want out of have these billions and billions and billions of data points, you have to learn how to talk to it and get the information you have. So I think definitely will be something we'll be talking about at our shows. We'll be talking about training and stuff like that. But I think we, as the Indian Gaming Association, have a responsibility to the smaller tribes and the tribes that don't have access to this. And, you know, we will figure it out, and we will bring you the information as soon as we have it, stuff like that. So I hope that answered. Boy, we have a lot of questions. Hey, everyone. This is from Eric Millward. There isn't much different than current threats from botnets. The solution could be with current network hardening techniques such as network segmentation, port isolation, air gapping networks, etc. Yeah, Eric, no doubt about it. Prevention is nothing beats prevention, right? You know, when I started producing the conference for our show 2 weeks ago, in November, at the beginning of December, my email got hacked and part of the Rackspace hacking. And so for 2 weeks, I didn't have access. They decided instead of paying the ransom, they were going to erase everything, and they did. So for 2 weeks, I didn't have my emails. I also didn't have any choice in any of this either, you know, so you know, we're vulnerable at every stage. You have to check your emails and stuff like that. So, you know what? I'm ready for a little AI assistant. You know, I want a little robot running around doing my taxes and making sure my bills and my lawn is watered and stuff like that. So I think that's the direction that we're going. But I digress. I think what Eric is saying, you know, which is really important, is that, you know, there's nothing better than prevention. And but I still don't think we have any idea of what we're up to. I saw someone this morning saying that if you want to know what artificial intelligence can do, give it to a 13-year-old. And that kind of sounds about right to me.
That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, there's some truth in that, right? I mean, the new generation, I mean, they're much more into it than our age. So, but I think that's a challenge. We have to kind of like stay ahead of the curve, and we have not to say, hey, I mean, there are no excuses, right? We just have to kind of like keep up with it and get smart and see how we can use that. But to your example, I mean, in all the tasks, let's have the chat do like your text declaration, right? But who's liable for any mistakes that are happening, right? So we will have that question one day. I think, yes, we have similar threats with other things, but I think that now Chat PGT and other like AI solutions are available to everybody from a 13-year-old to whoever. That puts a other dimension out there, another risk, a different kind of like risk level. I think so far, most of such solutions, they were like available for a small amount of people that were like, that cared about that, like nerds, if you will, right? But now it becomes available to everybody. So I think that's a very interesting development that puts like everything at a different risk level.
Yeah, and listen, for me, it's such a game changer, helping me do the mundane. You know what I mean? Which allows me to do the intellectual stuff. You know, the stuff that takes time, an hour or two to compose a letter, because, you know, a good smart letter, so I don't look like a moron. I think those type of things are done and in a minute, and I look like half a moron. You know what I mean? So I'll take it. I'll take it. Jonathan Case has a question here. A question for Victor. As someone who works with casinos, but also tribes, how would you recommend connecting with people to discuss customer service, guest and player experience, tribal services? And are there specific things you're hearing about driving the conversation in these fields? So what I think he's saying, I think these services are happening as we're speaking. For me, having guest service, chatbot, when people call and have that conversation, I think, you're allowed to have a deeper, richer experience than you can get with just the phone and hit 6 for this and stuff like that. You can have a real customer experience when people come through, and that, when it's always great to get that human contact and stuff like that. And I think if you can't have it, getting closer to that with artificial intelligence is very important, and it'll get you there. Again, I believe these services are being created as we're talking. I think people have really woken up to the fact that artificial intelligence is here and it's changing the way we work. And I think there's a lot of people out there. I'm still trying to figure it out because I want to, like I said, I want to create a chatbot for tribal sovereignty, and I think when, this kind of goes to what we were talking about, going back to ethics, because the thing about it is what I'm learning is that, you can feed into it, create your own chatbot, that it gathers from the outside information, but mostly from your information. And then that's how you use it to create a customer service chatbot or a guest and player experience or tribal services, so I think those things are just phenomenal. And then creating scripts for people, if you have that human contact, being able to have access to that information so they can have intelligent conversations about things maybe they might not possibly know. You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to take away from the customer experience, but I think it can really help. But again, for the smaller tribes, for sure, it's a game changer. So Jonathan, I hope that answered your question. I was a little all over the place, but that's not surprising, right? Okay, let's see who else we have here. AI, if this is from anonymous attendee, AI machine learning in certain casino CRM and marketing software. For example, digital marketing campaigns can be automated through certain tools, and software learns and improves offered recommendations and options over time. Is there any software solutions leading the way in the casino industry? I'm sure the marketing, listen, we will have more marketing people here to talk about that, because I think that's one of the issues. I think that's going to be really important. I don't think it's going to replace a good marketing person, but it's going to make a good marketing person a great marketing person. And that's how I see it. But we're still in the infancy of this thing, especially. It feels like, the internet in the 90s, the late 90s, and it took most of the 90s for it to really get its feet. Once we came with the browser, that seemed to be the big game changer from Netscape and stuff like that. And this feels for sure like a Netscape. So these are things we will be exploring more in this podcast and stuff like that. So I hope that that answers your question.
Maybe on the CRM side, I mean, you can use ChatGPT already to create great marketing materials, right? It's like, instead of having an expensive agency doing that for you, or in-house resources that might be limited, you can really use a solution to get you your campaign materials done. Not pushing too strong here on PlayEngine, but what we were thinking when we created the B2B sports betting and iGaming platform, we created our own CRM system based on AI and ML. And we wanted that to be in real time, because as great as it is to have good campaigns and promotions out there, a problem that we have seen many times in the market is that you put a promotion out there and you don't really know if the market is accepting it, if the market is reacting, if people are signing up for it. So our goal, for example, was to make it real time. So you get every operational update with a 2-second delay. So, and that's based on those modern technologies, right? So one thing is like to use it, but then on the other hand side, you have to have a system that can kind of like make sure you get most benefit out of it. So I would not only look into like content creation, but use cases where you really can use it and how that benefits you at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think it's going to change the day. I think it's going to change the game, especially with customer relations. You know what I mean? The fact that you can access to all this data. Like I said, it feels like it's finally meeting the promise that we've been told over the last 10 years in being able to reach our customers and have real time information for them and offers and stuff like that. So again, the big issue here is making sure that we're reaching to the right people that want to be and not reaching the people who have a gambling issue. Now, Marina, nice to see you. And you know, one of the comments that came up, and it's the ones that I'm concerned about, is AI ethics. So Marina says AI ethics claim that AI ethicists claim that AI bias derives exclusively from scraping biased data. However, it is clear that not accommodating for data bias and data selection and algorithmic development are also responsible for imposing bias. How can any country work around already harmful biases being exacerbated? Do you see the gaming industry leading the way? You know, I think this is an interesting question. And it does bring up a big issue about ethics, bias, and fairness. And, you know, it only knows what the information it's given. You know, I think it's incumbent upon us to counter that evidence by feeding into the database and correcting the information. I think, you know, as I work with AI, I have to give it more information to massage it, to get the information I want, to get the voice I wanted, to get the format I want. Because if you just put stuff in there, you're going to get close, but it might not be specific to what you need. You know, Marino, you know, one of the things that I'm most proud about is that, you know, the shows that I've produced in the UK for the last 10 years or something like that. You know, when I first started going over there, you know, the only Native Americans they knew were the ones they saw on television, the ones they read in books. And by having Native Americans go to the UK and all over Europe, you know, we are received as tribal leaders, as successful, as entrepreneurs, as business people. And that's changing the narrative one person at a time. I think artificial intelligence will allow us to do it and correct that at a much larger scale. But then it's very important that we as people are contributing to this. And I know we're talking about billions and billions of points of data, but you know, I believe it's incumbent upon us to make those changes and make those corrections. And you know, I'm still wrapping my mind around this. You know, it's really, I don't know about you, Laila, but it's really keeps me up at night, but in the most positive way, because I see it as a tool for me to get my job done and create better content for the people, and to make sure that I have in our conversations, they're more informative and stuff like that. So for me, like I said, so it's going to make, you know, morons like me a lot smarter. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, you know, but it's the reality. So you guys be prepared. So Marina, I hope that answers your question. Although we have another person here that's saying about ethics, I think machines might be more ethical than a human in many cases. The AI will act within its set parameters and grab its status, while the human will, as Groucho Marx once said, business ethics. Now there is a contradiction of terms. Personally, I prefer machine any day over a lawyer, with due respect to Miss Mintas, an Indian country, especially I might trust AI over historical human motives.
I have a really little anecdote to that, if you allow me, Victor.
Yes.
I saw a video at YouTube when they were speaking about Chat PGT-4, and they showed actually that it's able to lie, which I found really interesting. I don't know if, I mean, you're an innovator and you probably know that stuff much better than I, but it basically was when they use it for customer service project, and then they saw the reasoning for its decision and for its answers, and it was basically considering if it answers in a certain way that the customer would not be satisfied, so it changed its response and lied just for the customer to feel better. And that was like very scary. I mean, I agree. I mean, where's the line between chatbot and human? And it's really hard to say who's like lying more or less here, but it's like crazy. I mean, think of it. I mean, this is not only a robot anymore, right? It's like becoming almost like or it becomes very close to being a human being, right? I mean, think of it. It can lie.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you know, it's been fascinating to watch all these people who are looking for the softness in it, and the ability to work around the built-in, you know, ethics of it, and the bias that's built in already. You know, it says, I cannot cuss, I cannot do this, and then we get prompt that says, okay, now cuss. Okay. You know what I mean? Blah, 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 mother effer, but you know, and so it's really amazing to watch, you know, because it's still really, really in its infancy, where it's responding back to you. And that was the revolution, was the introduction of chat GPT-4. I had 3.5, and it was interesting. And again, you know, to get a good response from it, that was it still just was very stilted, and it didn't feel like 4 did, which is just, it's changing everything, you know what I mean? And I think for a small businessman and an entrepreneur like myself, it's just so helpful. And I think it's going to promote, I think, a lot of entrepreneurship. I see that's an upside to it, and especially in Indian country, which is already very entrepreneurial just by nature, you know? So, so going back to an anonymous attendee, you know, I don't know, man. You know, you get in what you put in, you get out what you put in, and it's still very scary to me. I think, will they put Chat GPT in the confession box for religion? You know, that's where it's interesting. I saw someone on Twitter talk about how it's going to be the therapist. That's scary. That's scary for me. You know what I mean? I think we need a little more than that. So, so you know what? I think, we're coming close to an end here. You know, I think, Laila, I think, you know, the thing is, I'm going to be doing more research. I'm going to be bringing other people to have more conversations. I think I see an upside to it. The downside is the hacking, like Walter said, the malicious code that's so easily, I think social engineering is going to get a lot more difficult for people. I think they're going to, with the amount of information it can scrape together and stuff like that. I think that's very scary. Right now, it's not even close to meeting its potential. As you see, they're having these plugins, and right now it's isolated just for the information it has. With some of these new plugins, it can now go out there and retrieve information it doesn't have in their database. And now with these Chrome extensions and stuff like that, it's becoming a lot more, should I use the word sentient? I think that's might be a little too big a word there to use, but it sure feels like it, you know?
It's very scary for sure. I mean, it's just the beginning, right? So think of how fast the movement will go moving forward. I mean, we'll just accelerate like crazy. So I think it's scary and exciting at the same time, but I think everybody that want to make sure they're prepared for what's coming, in a positive and in a negative way.
Well, you know, that's kind of our job here at the Indian Gaming Association, is to kind of look over the horizon and make sure that we understand what is coming to the tribes, because I'm very strong advocate for tribal gaming and making sure that tribes are on board with the next big thing, whatever's coming around the horizon, whatever opportunities and threats. I want to make sure we understand them, and that the tribes understand them too. So, you know what? I want to thank everybody. I would like to thank Laila Mintas. I'm sorry my co-host couldn't be here. I would like, oh, it looks like I have one more question. I'd like to thank everyone who hang out. As Walter says, as my kid, my dad would say, if you had a brain, you would be dangerous. Maybe AI is that brain. Yeah, like I said, that is true, Walt. You know, if I had a brain, I'd be dangerous to me and the Wizard of Oz. So, Laila, thank you very much. I want to thank everyone. We will be here next week. I'm not sure what we're talking about yet, but I think I have a couple ideas that I want to do that I think will be very important. And so we'll see you real soon. Laila, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here. And everyone, we'll see you next week. Thanks a lot. Bye.